Hi, today we're going to solve using completing the square. So completing the square is we're basically trying to take a trinomial, quadratic, and we want to rewrite it so when we factor it, you're going to get one of the special perfect square factoring problems. So that's going to be what we're going to try and shoot for here. So before we even do that, let's try and figure out how to find C to turn this problem into a perfect square. So there's a formula. In order to find that C, we're going to use b divided by 2 and then square it. B divided by 2 and square it. So first one up here, if I take my b value, which is 4, divided by 2, I get 2, and then I square it. 2 squared is going to give us C equals 4. Well, what's that going to look like? Well, I have x squared plus 4x plus 4. My whole goal is for when I factor it, I get this. So when I can simplify it, instead of writing the same parenthesis twice, I'm going to write it once with an exponent. That's our goal here. But before we do that, all we need to do is figure out what is C. Let's try it down here. Take our b value, -8, divided by 2, square it. My C is going to equal 8 divided by 2 is 4, negative 4 and times -4, positive 16. That's just finding C. Now let's take that and put it to use here. So before I can do anything here, I need to have a blank space for C. I want C, I don't care what's on the right side after the equal sign, but I do need a blank, I need just a C value there, no number. So let's move that 12. X squared minus 6x, I'm going to leave a blank space, equals 7. Now I'm going to use our formula and figure out what that C value is. So in this case, it's going to be -6 over 2 squared. -6 and 2 is going to give us a -3. -3 times -3 plus 9. Now, know that when we move numbers, move terms from one side of the equal sign to the other, whatever you do to the right, you have to do to the left. Whatever you do to the left, you got to do to the right. You always want to have equal operations. If I added 9 here, I also need to add 9 on the other side. So just be very, very careful of this. Okay, so we're going to do a couple things at once. So let's factor this. When I factor x, two numbers multiplied together to give me 9, well, 1 and 9 or 3 and 3, we want to get a 6. So we're looking at 3 and 3. How do I get a negative? Negative, negative. And then when I multiply, negative, negative gives me a positive 9. So we came up with a parenthesis times itself. Now we're going to take this one more step further and we're going to rewrite it x minus 3 with an exponent, because there's 2 of those parentheses. On the other side, we're left with 16. Okay, so we did what we had to do. Good. This is the whole idea of completing the square. We want to figure out what C is so then we can factor and bring it down to here. But we're not done. Now, I want to solve for X. You know inverse operations. When you see addition, you do subtraction. When you see multiplication, you do division, and so on. There's one more inverse operation that we haven't learned yet, and that's going to be whenever you have an exponent here. When I have an exponent of 2, I'm going to take the square root. I'm going to take the square root. I'm going to look for what number times itself. No, let's backtrack a little bit. When I have an exponent and I have a square root, those two things cancel out. So all you are left with is just x minus 3. On the other side, now I'm looking for what times itself gives me 16. Well, 4 times 4 gives me 16. Okay, good. What about a -4 times a -4? It's still going to give me the positive 16. It's still a number times itself. So because I don't know if it's -4 times -4 or +4 times +4, I'm going to rewrite this as a plus minus. It's saying I can have either a positive 4 or a negative 4 as an answer here. I need that little symbol. Now I need to go and get x alone. So add 3, add 3. X equals, now be careful what I'm going to do. I'm going to squeeze this 3 right up there. I'm going to say 3 plus 4. And I'm going to say 3 minus 4. So now I'm taking this plus minus, I'm going to split it off into 2 parts. And my final answers, x equals 7, x equals negative 1. So you get 2 answers there. Okay, so it's completing the square. We just saw that. And what that will look like is if you had a parabola, you'd be crossing at negative 1 right there, and at 7 right there. But we don't need to know that now. All right, let's look at this again. Slightly more complicated problem. Well, I already have that missing c, cool. But my problem here is I have a number in front of x squared. I can't do anything when there's a number here. So when you see a number that's not 1 in the a position, let's divide everything by that number. So divide, 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 4, 4, 4. And when we do that, we rewrite, we get x squared plus 2x. I'm going to leave a little gap for my c equals 3. And we learned over here that we got to put another c there. So let's fill in. What is c? So b divided by 2 squared. In this case, it's going to be 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Square it. It's still going to be 1. So I'm going to add 1, add 1. If you do it to the right side, got to do it to the left side. Let's factor. X and x give me x squared. What two numbers multiply together give me 1? 1 and 1. We need signs. 1 times 1, we need a positive positive to get a positive there. Because they're both the same, I'm going to rewrite just 1. Put an exponent there. On the right side. Bring down, we get a 4. Okay, we need to do some inverse operations in order to get x alone. In this case, inverse of having an exponent of 2 is taking the square root. The square root. So you come up with x plus 1. Remember, the square root and the exponent, poof, they cancel out with each other. On the right side, what two numbers multiplied together give us 4? Well, it's going to be either a positive or a negative 2. So now we got to keep going, solve for x. Minus 1, minus 1. X equals. We now need to rewrite this twice. We're going to say negative 1 plus 2, negative 1 minus 2. And we are left with x equals 1, x equals negative 3. Our parabola will cross the x-axis at 1 and at negative 3. Good. We got one more we got to do. So here, we've got a number all the way in front. Again, let's divide everything, and we have to move this 18 to the other side. So let's move the 18 first. Add 18 to both sides. Negative 2x squared plus 8x blank space equals 18. Let's divide everything by 2. And we are left with x squared minus 4x blank equals negative 9. Okay, let's find this. B squared, nope, b divided by 2, square it. So negative 4 divided by 2 is give us negative 2. Negative 2 squared is going to give us positive 4. And let's factor. So x, 2, going to be minus minus. And then the other side, minus 5. Rewrite. X minus 2 squared equals negative 5. Okay, almost done. I know I just kind of ran through that. In order to undo the exponent, square root. X minus 2, good, equals, we've got a problem. What two numbers multiplied together give us a negative 5? There's nothing. Whenever you have a negative underneath that square root, we can't do it. Not possible. So, since it's not possible, we just did all this work for no reason, but there is a final answer. No solution. What that is telling us is that you have a parabola that never crosses the x-axis. All that useless work. So remember, you're going to come up with no solution when you have a square root and it's a negative number under it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is solving by completing the square.